Hey, Soil Mates. Welcome to Men Metal Mayhem, the podcast where the brothers men take a deep dive into the discographies of our favorite metal bands. I'm your host, Brother Paul, joined as ever by my two brothers and co-hosts, Brother John
Ride 'em, brother.
and Brother Dave.
What's kicking, chickens?
Each season of the show, we are focusing on one band, and season one, Songs of the Damned, we are covering Soilwork. Today, we are talking their magnificent 2015 album, The Ride Majestic. Join us all along Echoing Paths. So this album was released August 18, 2015. Brother John, why don't you break down the top 40 for us and tell us where you were at in 2015?
With pleasure, brother Paul. Well, the number one hit that week was a little something called Cheerleader by the band OMI. I didn't recognize that title, so I listened to it, and I'm pretty sure I've never heard that before in my life. So I don't know where I was at that time in 2015, but apparently not listening to the number one song. Sort of a reggae jam. It was fine. I don't know. Check it out. But there was a
Yeah,
couple other
man.
ones. Yeah, man. A couple other ones I definitely remember. I Can't Feel My Face by The Weeknd. That's a pretty good jam, if you like songs about doing cocaine, which I think that's what that's about.
Yeah.
Bad Blood by Taylor Swift, a classic. Let's see. Oh, Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon. That was one of mine and Sadie's favorite ones to dance to at weddings. And another great classic that Sadie and I both like, Cool for the Summer came in. Oh, I wasn't saying what numbers these were. Cool for the Summer was 16, Shut Up and Dance, 14, Bad Blood, number 9, I Can't Feel My Face, number 2. It's important information. The fans need to know. And I think everyone is going to remember number 17 that week, Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars. That one was definitely everywhere that whole year. And special mention number 35, Stitches by Shawn Mendes. I always like that one. It makes me laugh because there's this line in it where he says, Your bitter heart cold to the touch, but he's Canadian and he pronounces it cold to the toich. I just laugh every time. Your bitter heart cold to the touch. So I, I like that song, but it does make me laugh. So speaking of dancing at weddings, my wife and I got married in 2015 on October 31st to be precise. So around the time this album came out, we were getting ready for that. And actually, we were taking swing dancing lessons because our first dance as a married couple, we did Burning Love by Elvis and did like a swing dance to it. So that was pretty fun.
I'm just gonna say your
But
wedding was wonderful. It was a lot of fun. It was perfect. It was great.
Oh, well, thanks, Brother Paul. It was a Halloween wedding, but we tried to not have it be cheesy. Like there's no costumes allowed. It was more of like a elegant Halloween wedding, I guess, if you want to call it that. Basically, we said, guys, don't wear costumes. This is not a costume party. It's an actual wedding. So come and be prepared to dance and drink. And dance and drink, we did. Um, but I honestly haven't really danced much in the years following, and we're kind of out of, now I'm in my early 40s. Almost all of our friends who are going to get married have gotten married, so I don't have weddings to go to 4 or 5 times a year anymore, so don't get much practice any longer. Let's see. Some, oh, well, Brother Paul, you were at my bachelor party, which, as far as bachelor parties go, this one is pretty tame, but in my opinion, it was really fun. It was you, me, my good friend Nate, and our buddies Tyler and Michael. So just a small group of friends, and we all like playing board games. And do you recall what we played that night before we went and hit the bars?
My God, did we play Arkham?
Yes, we did. Arkham Horror, the board game. And that one, it's not one that you win very often because it's pretty tough, but it's like a co-op game for anyone who isn't familiar. And you're like trying to battle the ancient Lovecraftian horrors and whatnot. And we pulled off the victory. And throughout the game, everyone was drinking. I was kind of keeping my cool, but everyone else was getting progressively more and more just wasted. And I was trying to keep everyone, wrangle the herd basically. And like, okay, we got to go here. We got to do this. Come on, guys, focus up. Don't get too drunk now. And we pulled off the victory, and there was almost rioting in the streets. We were so excited at the outcome. We're just like screaming and cheering, just like a group of five, adult men around a table, playing a board game, and it was awesome. Wouldn't have had it any other way. Uh, another, so last hilarious story. Well, this one makes me laugh. So it was around this time, we live close to downtown, and Sadie and I would go down to College Ave and go drinking a lot. And there's this bar, Sana, that had like really good fancy cocktails and stuff. And our buddy Dudley worked there. Shout out Dudley. Hopefully you're listening. I don't know. I'll let you know about this one. Anyways, so we're walking downtown, and there were some guys in a truck who were like parked at this red light, kind of right near Jekyll's, if for you guys who know where that is. But so we're on the sidewalk coming up to the red light. They're parked, and as we approached, they yell out the window, "Fuck her in the pussy!" And then the light turned green, and they peeled out really fast. And we're like, what? And then a cop almost immediately like was coming the other way, and he flashed his lights and pulled a U-turn to apprehend these obvious criminals. And then they were like speeding, and then they turned left the wrong way down a one-way street and like trying to escape from Johnny Law. Not a safe maneuver. Luckily, there's no head-on collisions or anything, but the cops got him. And I can only assume those guys are probably still in jail to this day for their many crimes against humanity. Fuck her in the pussy.
That's the pull quote for
Uh,
this episode.
yeah.
Throwing that in the
Uh,
trailer.
yeah, we still laugh about that one once in a while. But so let's see. I mean, that's like pretty much what I was up to. I was looking back to see what the heck was I listening to, and 2015 was the last year that I really used um, Last FM to track my music plays until this year. So there's a big gap. But my second most listened to band was Soilwork, and the Ride Majestic was getting a lot of spins for me. Other than that, some local bands, the Traveling Suitcase. And in those days, I was just listening to a lot of podcasts like Comedy Bang Bang, How Did This Get Made? And one of my favorites, Professor Blastoff, which sadly came to an end mid 2015. Rest in peace. So that's pretty much what I was up to. Brother Dave, what was your life looking like in 2015?
My life, I was halfway through my PhD program. And even more importantly, I had finally met the woman who would one day become my wife. Uh, and we'd been dating for about probably like a year and a half at that point. One of the awesome things is that I met her right before Brother Paul's wedding. And so she was able to attend that with me. And then she also came to Brother John's wedding. So, almost got to attend all of the weddings in our family. Um,
Yeah. And you got married in 2015 as well? Am I remembering this
yeah.
correct?
So, yeah, actually, at this point when the album came out, August, we were not married. And then life happened and we very kind of suddenly got engaged and got married. Not due to sudden baby or anything, but just because actually green card status stuff became kind of in flux. And I mean, we were planning on getting married at some point in the future anyway. Um, and they forced our hand because her employment situation changed.
Well, that's a little better reason than, the evangelical reason for just being so incredibly horny that you need to get married so you're not doing it out of wedlock.
Right. I
So
mean, we
at
were,
least at least there's that.
yeah. Uh,
And let me just toot my own horn. I had the home that served as the venue for your wedding. At least
that's
the
true.
official legal ceremony. And then
The
you had
official
an
legal
actual
ceremony.
like
Yeah.
one with more, extended family and friends later down by where you guys live in Arizona. But
Yeah,
and Christopher Gold, musician extraordinaire from the Appleton area. Christopher Gold and the New Old Things. Check it out, everybody. But he
yeah,
also is a minister, internet ordained, and he officiated my wedding and your wedding. So
yeah.
props to him.
Cool dude. He took just took some time out, a couple hours on Christmas Day of 2015, and
Oh yeah.
drove over to your house and officiated my wedding, where we had my immediate, everyone from my immediate family, our immediate family there. And then her parents were joined via Zoom or something, some video chat thing. And then a year or two in the future, we would have our Arizona wedding and then our China wedding after that. Uh, so yeah, that was cool. I feel like I didn't really know what I was doing in this relationship, but it kind of worked out and it's still continuing to work out. So I'm gonna, keep doing whatever I'm doing.
Keep riding that train.
Yep, we just hit our 9 year anniversary, as would you have, John.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting. Um, so that was me personally. Mostly was just PhD in that relationship. Musically, I think around this time is when I got into Protest the Hero. And I think it may have been through Paul's friend Kevin. I'm not I'm not sure 100% right. My memory gets a little hazy, but I feel like he told me about him. I checked him out because he came down once or twice to Arizona just to for work stuff, and we hung out, got dinner. We're not super close, but he's a cool dude, and talked music mostly because that's what we have in common. And he told me about some stuff, and Protest the Hero really stuck. I've also got some like distinct individual memories of Flesh God Apocalypse been big for me around this time. Riverside. I feel like I was getting into older stuff that I'd missed around now. Riverside, I remember Anno Domini High Definition, that album being on repeat in my car. And that album is just so good as far as kind of like prog infused dark rock. Just amazing album. Uh, and I also have a couple just very distinct memories of this Godless Endeavor by Nevermore hitting me maybe the second time around because this was 6 years after it was released or something like that. But listen to that. And then as far as my uh, dumb fusion music goes, Mr. Bungle and Polka Dot Cadaver were right around this time. Both of those bands have some real terrible stuff and some really good stuff.
If I was going to
Uh,
check out a great Polka Dot Cadaver album, what should I listen to of theirs? That
you should
sounds like a
listen,
wild
you should
band.
absolutely listen to Purgatory Dance Party. Great
Will
album.
will do. I'm putting it on the list.
And then Mr. Bungle, California, I think is what it's called. You can't go wrong with that. And I think we talked about them. They're the ones that beef with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which makes me love them even more.
They have an album called California, so fighting over
Yes.
that turf.
Yeah, exactly. So that's me in a nutshell. Brother Paul, tell us about you in 2015.
Nice. Well, 2015, that was a transitional year for me. I had already been married for a year. I got married in 2014 in early August. Um, and in 2015, in August, we were just moving back to Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I was looking for jobs and had no idea what I was doing with my life still. And I was underemployed working at one of those direct marketing places. So like if you go into like a Costco or a Sam's Club or whatever, and you see just like a depressed person trying to sell you like a novelty product, yeah, that was me. For a while. Um, and at this point, I was working towards my sobriety, but that wouldn't really take until next year, 2016. Um, yeah, in terms of what I was listening to, 2015, yeah, was the year that I really got into podcasts. So I wasn't listening to a ton of music. Um, and I hadn't listened to this album at all by Soilwork until we started this podcast. But in terms of actual music, I had discovered the artist Ben Frost, and he makes like experimental electronic drone music, just like dark, harsh, and oppressive noise with like soundscapes. So, it's maybe a good indicator of where I was at mentally and emotionally in 2015. His album
Uh,
By the Throat was just on repeat for me, and that's just like winter soundscapes and like wolves over top, underneath just like a harsh noise, and it's just bleak. So yeah. And with that, let's turn to the year in metal. Um, and from our mainstays, we had Children of Bodom coming out with I Worship Chaos. Um, Amorphous, Under a Red Cloud, The Black Dahlia Murder, Abysmal, and Brother Dave's favorite, Protest the Hero, had their Pacific Myth EP. And then debuts, boy, I gotta mention them. Band Batushka came out with Liturgia, and they're a Polish black metal band. And if you just want dumb, ridiculous band drama, like this is the band for you. Like, go so stupid. What happened to this band is it started with one guy, and then he brings in like another dude who then like steals the band from him and like takes the name. And then there's all this drama, and there's like one Batushka, and then the other guy starts another one with the same name, and it goes to the Supreme Court of Poland. Meanwhile, there's all these other bands that are like, well, I'm gonna, name myself Batushka also. So
I am Batushka.
it's so
I am
dumb.
Batushka.
And then I think the original guy who started it, I think he lost, and now he's got a new project. But I re-listened to this album, and it's actually really good if you're into
he
kind
should
of
have named his new project Batushka, but with the number two.
boom.
Hopefully
If
he
you're out there
copyrighted it
listening,
this time.
and then from our selected works, God, it was a good year to be a Doom fan because Swallow the Sun came out with Songs from the North, one, two, three. And this is their massive triple album. And each album is stylistically different. So the first one, Gloom, is just classic Doom death. Beauty is acoustic folk. And then Despair is funeral doom. And I kind of wish that Soilwork had done something similar with The Living Infinite, like made the two albums a little more distinct stylistically. Um, I think that's always a good thing. If you're gonna do something big and ambitious like that, like really go for it. And Swallow the Sun knocked it out the park. So
I haven't listened to that one. I'm gonna have to spin up that disc.
yeah. Keeping in Doom, we have Ahab, the Funeral Doom band, coming out with the Boats of Glen Carrig, and this is based off a story by William Hope Hodgson, I think, and it's like this very Lovecraftian type tale. It's, from the early 1900s, um, about a shipwreck, and then there's octopi and weed monsters and stuff, and it's all very early 1900s pulp. So, that's another really good one.
A lot of
Paradise,
grandpa hats there.
a lot of grandpa hats, a lot of men seeing eldritch horrors. Paradise Lost came out with The Plague Within. My Dying Bride had Feel the Misery. Draconian, who's one of my favorite kind of gothic doom bands, had Sovereign. And then switching over to black metal, there's a band Mepharash came out with 1557 Rites of Nullification, and they're a band I'd be interested in doing. Um, they were just a random one that showed up in my Spotify, and they're really interesting. I like them a lot. Um, More traditional Melodeath, Night Rage came out with the Puritan, and finally, we mentioned them earlier, Riverside, Love, Fear, and the Time Machine. God, that album's good.
It's such a good album. That's the
It's
one that was after their guitarist died and they decided not to replace him, right? And
yeah,
so
I
it's
believe
just
so.
reusing some of the stuff he'd already recorded, but then like lots of soundscape stuff with
Yeah,
keys.
yeah,
Yeah, really good album.
yeah. It's beautiful. So, Brother John,
Hmm. Well, I was looking at what came out in 2015, and I must have really been deep into just listening to podcasts and not following all my old favorite bands because I discovered just today that a bunch of bands that I like have come out with albums that I had never even heard of. Stuff by Ensiferum, Night Rage that you mentioned, Between the Buried and Me, Symphony X, and Nile all had albums in 2015. Never even heard of them before. Um, I want to give a special shout out. I didn't even know Coal Chamber was still a band at this time, but they came out with an album called Rivals. I'll have to check that out because back in high school, I loved Coal Chamber. And special mention, Disharmonia Mundi, with vocals by our boy Bjorn Speed Strid, came out with Cold Inferno. Um, oh, last one. I don't know how you could have missed this, Paul, but your and Dave's favorite band, Ghost, with the album Meliora. How did that
I
not get
just
a
try
shout
to
out from you?
forget. I
I
try to scrub them from my memory.
I almost looked to see if they brought in like came out with an album this year just so that I could shit all over it, but I was like, no, I'm gonna be the bigger person here and not do that this time.
I got you, Paul. I'll mention it when I see it.
All right. Well, let's move on to Soilwork. And we have another big departure this album. Olaf Link, the bassist who had been on every recording, left in June of 2015. Um, and he was replaced by Marcus Weiboom, who was a former guitar tech of theirs and a bass player in the hardcore band Hearts Alive. Now, Marcus, he gets credited as the bass player on this album, but he actually didn't play anything. All the bass was recorded apparently by Sylvain and David Anderson. So here they are, 20 years after they formed, and Bjorn is the only original member left standing.
Hmm. When did they, or do you even know when did they actually record this? Because he left just a couple months before it was actually released. I would have thought maybe he was around when they were still recording it, but maybe he just wasn't actively participating at
Yeah,
that
that
point.
is kind of my thought. It's weird because he shows up in one of the videos, but like looking at the notes, like maybe he recorded stuff, but they just credited it to the other guys. I'm not entirely sure how that worked, but
Hmm.
yeah, no credit for him. All about them.
Any any idea why he left?
Oh, it was just time to move. I'd looked into it. It didn't seem like anything crazy, but
Yeah,
just
Well,
happens.
it's been 20 years of being in a band. That's a long time.
It
yeah.
is a long time.
Yeah, I mean, but he had a big personality on stage. Like he's a big gangly dude with a beard and long hair, and he would just always be dancing around being a goof. So, that I distinctly remember him from all the times I saw them play. So, yeah, kind
Yeah.
of kind of a
I
big
mean,
loss.
if they started in their like early 20s, he would have been in his early 40s at that point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that takes a toll. Maybe he went to join Olaf Renning
They're all they're all in that great shuffleboard play
in the sky.
in the sky.
Uh,
Olaf Renning's just up there beckoning them to come to him in the clouds.
Come. I'm
Oh,
just
we'll have to do
imagining the
some
guy
AI
from
art for that.
the absolutely.
So this album was recorded at Fascination Street Studios, and it was produced by Soilwork and someone named David Castillo. At this point in his career, David Castillo, he has a lot of engineering, mixing, and mastering credits, and he'd worked a lot with Catatonia and Bloodbath and a couple other kind of metal bands, but he didn't really have a lot of production credits at this point. So I'm always curious, like, why they chose him. I think kind of they had done that before. I think maybe on Living Infinite, they brought in like kind of a sound guy. I wonder if they just wanted to make it sound really nice or what was going on.
I feel like there's a lot of overlap between those skill sets
Yeah.
also. But I mean, the decision making by a lot of bands to change their producer and mixer seems weird because, at least to me as an outsider, obviously
Hmm.
it probably makes sense to them in the moment, but like the Living Infinite, the sound on that was basically perfect.
Yeah.
Like, why not stick with what you know is working? So it always seems like a gamble. You'll end up with like a Nevermore situation where
Yeah.
you got a good thing going and then your next album just kind of sounds like crap because you picked the wrong people.
Yeah. Looking back, Living Infinite was Jens Bogren, who he did have production credits, but he also had a ton of mixing, engineering, and mastering. So I don't know.
He
I
must
guess
have
we'll
been demanding the big dollary dues when it
yeah.
came time for the next album. He's like, "See what I did on that last one? Now it'll be 5 million."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, sorry, can't do it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Credits wise, Anderson handles the bulk of the music as well as contributing lyrics on four of the tracks. Speedstrid, he has three solo music credits on this one and one shared with Anderson. We get two from Kadre, and then poor Sven Karlsson, iced out. He's got nothing. Um, so let's get into it. 11 standard tracks, just under 50 minutes, starting with track one, the Ride Majestic. Brother Dave, kick us off.
I mean, we know this is right from the title alone. We know it's going to be a good Soilwork song and probably a good album. They're riding majestically. They're back, baby,
It's
even though
back.
they weren't even gone. Uh,
I didn't even think about that. What a ride heavy album.
Oh,
yeah,
I've
it,
got
it
all the sites to where they talk about it if you want to get into it.
They have
I
such
mean,
sights to show us.
and I mean, they even end with a writing reference in the last track, Father and Son watching the world go down. We'll get there.
Yeah.
But I mean, this song, banger. Starts with a nice clean intro, but like immediately just jumps right into that dual guitar attack that, I mean, man, Anderson and Kudre work so well together. They are a great duo. And as much as I liked Witchers and his style, I feel like maybe Anderson elevates the band even above that. He and then I'm thinking about it. I've said in the past I'm not really sure what Kudre's like style or like what he's bringing exactly, but I think he grounds Anderson's kind of whimsical noodliness in just being brutal metal still. Uh, and I think they're a good team like that. They're both just excellent players and both great composers too. We got a big long pick scrape at 52 seconds. Love to hear it.
From the deepest of waters to a burning sky, I've been dragged through gold.
We get some of that I think I talked about on the previous album where they're kind of shifting the meter by a beat, but they end up making up that beat so it still is riding in 4/4 the whole time, but it's like rhythmically fun to listen to. Um, and and then another fun rhythmic thing, they add like a in one of the sections around 236 or so, they add an extra bar of 4/4. So it's like we've just done this 5 times, which is weird, but it's still riding in 4/4. So you know that you keep that great driving pulse. Um, I've got nothing bad to say about this song. Nothing at all. Brother John, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I mean, my thoughts pretty much mirror yours exactly, and I'm glad that you called out that pick scrape because that I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. It's like a 4 or 5
Love a
second
good pick
long pick
scrape.
scrape into just like a I don't know, like a I'm not even sure what he's doing. He's just like hitting the one string or something, or just doing like a little thing, but it's like
Oh, I think what it
that's
does, I actually wrote it down here. He pick scrapes into doubling up what the other guitar is doing. So like
yeah.
when you have one guitar playing, it sounds good. When you have two guitars playing the same thing, the slight difference between the playing like fills out the sound so much. So you do this awesome pick scrape and then just get a huge sound afterwards.
Yeah, that part was really cool. I mean, the whole song was cool. My note says that the whole song is essentially a sick riff layered with tasty licks. In particular, I mean, I just really love what the guitars are doing at a minute 12 seconds. Just sort of a short, noodly run, but it's
Hmm.
awesome. And then at a minute 36, the drums drop out. It's just a noodly lick that leads back into the chorus. Both those parts were really cool. And that song is just really catchy too. I mean, I guess the lyrics didn't really stand out. I wasn't, for the most part, other than when they yell out the Ride Majestic, but
Yeah.
just the music, the melody is just really catchy. It's a bop.
Yes. So this song gave me kind of similar vibes to the Living Infinite One from the previous album, which that one starts with a full-on acoustic guitar
Hmm.
before, driving into this, pummeling, powerful song. And like here, it's got that kind of wistful, melancholic,
Hmm.
and then it gets into
Then
it.
they, yeah,
And
blast you
it's
with the
and it's
intensity.
fucking awesome. He does he does a really one of his big vocal builds that he
Hmm.
does at the two
Those are
minute mark.
all over the place on this album.
Yep, he's sort of like I, I don't know. He's having fun with it, it seems.
Hmm.
He does it a lot. It works, it's one of I love when he does that. Yeah, throughout when the guitars are dropping that like half beat like throughout, it's so good. Start to finish, triumph of a song. So, let's move on to track number two, A Light in the Aftermath. Um, and this one, I like how it's unrelenting. And then at the 115 mark, they break it down to like this weird, groovy little
Oh
section.
yeah.
And then they have a wonky solo, which courtesy of our our boy Anderson, who you mentioned is yeah, kind of flighty and noodly and wonky about it, and it bleeds into like a weird little mellotron part.
Something like that.
There's so much going on with this song,
And
but
that's
I
not even the apex of the
no,
song.
but I still like it, you know? Yeah, brother Dave.
I mean, all that stuff you said is true and it's awesome, but I think you missed the most fun part of this song is that after all that, they come in with like the shrieking triumphant power metal vocals. And they call us travelers through astral planes diverting time. It's just like so over the top and ridiculous. I love this song just simply for how weird it is, but
Yeah,
it all
can
comes
we
together.
can we open up our section lyrical tactics, vocal gymnastics? Because we
Yes,
got to talk about this.
absolutely.
Lyrical tactics, vocal gymnastics.
Um, yeah, I mean that's the part that really stuck out to me initially, and then as I read the lyrics, I was like, this song is crazy. It's kind of like a little bit unlike anything they've done as far as I could tell. But this is one that was the lyrics were by David Anderson. And initially, I heard the references to astral planes. I kind of wondered, okay, is this like a continuation of sort of the hippie themes that we noticed in the song Mercury Shadows? At least according to my interpretation of that song. But that's hard to say because, it's a different lyricist. Maybe they're all kind of into the same stuff. But this one, you read through it, it really seems to be more about a dream that Anderson had had like about shedding his mortal existence to transcend into a separate astral plane, and there were beings from that realm coming to try to pull him in, and him like struggling with whether to follow them or not, but they're getting progressively more serious and aggressive about forcing him to shed his current existence And he does, and he wonders, okay, what's the meaning of this prior existence anyway? He's reached transcendent enlightenment. And overall, it had a very, I guess we're mentioning it for the third or fourth time this episode, a very Lovecraftian feel to me. A lot of Lovecraft stories are about kind of weird dreamlike encounters with otherworldly forces, and I am here for it. You know, I thought this one had some really cool lyrics. I liked it.
Well, you are not far off from the actual meaning. I read from Speed. He said that, quote, the lyrics try to capture the feeling of transcendence and a passage to the unknown. So,
Oh, well, for once they made lyrics straightforward enough for somebody to understand.
Yeah,
So good on
and
you.
I mean, if this is written by David Anderson, maybe that's like his style. He seems kind of more out there. It's got sort of that fantasy narrative vibe going to it. Yeah, it's weird, but it's their closest song to being about wizards, so I love it.
is
Yeah.
is Bal Sagoth still a band? 'Cause they had a bunch of
Oh,
weird songs
jeez, I
like
haven't
that.
even thought of them in ages.
Well, we got to dive into some of those lyrics. Any final
Well,
thoughts on this one?
well, before we move on, I wanted to mention something about the drums. I thought, well, there's a lot of really fast technical drumming throughout the song, and what I kind of termed sneaky blast beats, where he'll just throw in some quick blast beats here and there. And it really adds some zazz, like at 16 seconds, at 22 seconds. It's like a little blast beat flare to cap off the musical phrase that he's playing on the drums. Just kind of like the little fill at the end of his 4 bars or whatever, but it's just like a really
Hmm.
fast blast beat. But it's not too in your face. And it's like, oh, there's a bunch of little tiny blast beats in this song. I love it. So
Yeah,
just wanted to call that out.
the blast beats, and then also one other thing that maybe is one reason Paul liked it, is it starts off kind of really black metal, and the chords they use, are very black metal and like diminished sounding, which is a change from what we normally hear from Soilwork. And it shows up a couple of times on this album.
Yeah,
Neat stuff.
yeah. Well, let's move on to track number 3, Death in General. Brother John.
Oh man, I love this one. It's got a lot of fun guitar bends right up in front in the intro. If we're talking about sick riffs, starting at about 40 seconds, that is a sick riff for sure. He has sort of the start stop chugging going on with the guitars and drums, but then also the sustained guitar notes and bends going on. It's fucking sick, bro. And oh man, there's so much that I love about this song. During the verse at about 1 minute 11, it's just some periodic picking on the guitars, like not strumming or anything. It's kind of like more laid back with just the guitars picking, but the vocal melody is kind of carrying it through. I thought that was a really cool dynamic that they haven't done much, if at all, that I recall. And then
The
they do that
the
again,
verse
kind of in the
is
second verse.
the verse is surprisingly chill in this song, but they make it work.
Yeah, and then
It's real
then
good.
the chorus comes in, and that's pretty driving. Um, yeah, and on the drums, he's doing a lot of fun double bass stuff, just like some fun little kicking patterns. And yeah, I don't know, the chorus on this one just so good. Can't get enough of it. Overall flow of the song is just great. And Brother Paul at the very end, some little bleep bloppy electro notes on the outro. I don't know if
Oh,
you picked
I
up on
heard.
that or had any additional comments. But yeah, I loved it. Um, what do you guys think?
Uh, I like the drums in the intro. Like it's very tom heavy. It's kind of like sneaky toms. And
Yeah.
yeah, I like this song, but does it like go anywhere? Like I think the slow tempo verses make it feel pretty meandering. It it's not bad. It doesn't drag, but it feels like long. It's a little different than what I'm used to
Hard
from
hard
Soilwork.
disagree. I could have listened to it for another 5 minutes and been
Well,
fine.
I'll get to that in a different song, actually. So put a pin in that. But yeah, so that's what I got for this one. I like it. Yeah, the chorus is really good, but it meanders. Brother Dave.
I'm in Camp John on this one. This is one of the best songs on the album, I think, and they must have thought so also because it got a music video, which we'll talk about. Um, I love what they do with this one. The John mentioned most of it. You mentioned the toms, which I love, big tribal toms. Um, he's got, in addition to the bends they're doing at the beginning, he does this big legato thing where it's just a bunch of rapid hammer-ons at the end of the chorus, I think, or leading into the chorus. Actually, I think it is. And it's just like, oh, you know that this is going to take off somewhere. And then it does because the chorus is so big. Um, and then, oh, when they come back to the chorus later, they're doing these huge arpeggios behind it, I think. They don't do it the first time through, and then they do it the second time through. And it just feels so big and soaring. Um, and I love it. I agree with you, Brother Paul, that the verses are a bold move, at least, because they are so soft relative to the rest of the music. But I think that ends up making the lift that you get when they go heavy even bigger.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I like the song. It's just there's an
No,
oddness about
I
it.
heard that you hate it.
Yeah.
Everybody's been saying it.
Okay.
And I'm here to set the record straight. It's a good song, God damn it.
Many people are saying this.
The best people. Well, Brother Dave mentioned it, but I think it's time to open up our segment. Video killed the Mellow Death Star. And I mean, who wants to kind of quickly walk us through this one?
I would love to walk everyone through this one because well, there's two videos on from this album and I love both of them. But so this one starts out with Bjorn Speedstrid hanging out by some cacti in a desert. He's holding his head in his hands and he stands up and he's like, "Okay, got to get this unsavory task done, whatever that may be." So you're thinking, is he just vacationing in Yuma, Arizona and working off a hangover? Or is there something else going on? Hard to say. He walks toward this remote desert shack, and a lady in pink is coming out to meet him. There's also a lady in black with a black shawl of some sort, and she's sitting in the house. There's a rope and a bottle on the floor. Now the pink lady is being pulled back into the house by the rope that she's tied with, and two. Is this a Black Snake Moan scenario? Unclear so far. The lady in black seems to have her held captive, but it's uncertain what exactly is going on. Then more band members show up with guitars, looking like they're right out of the movie Desperado, and you're wondering, is this a band meeting? Are they meeting out here to do something criminal? Well, apparently not. The band is in the desert to play music. They start with a couple of guitars only, and then get the whole band together to play metal in the desert. The lady in black performs a saging ritual with burning sage to cleanse any bad juju from the pink lady, and then reveals a comically large tarot card from the folds of her billowy gown, while Dirk Verburen drops some blast beats on us. It is, of course, the death card. She does some additional tarot reading for the pink lady, and then the ladies seem to be getting along fine because they're outside by the band, dancing to the music and letting their pink and black silk capes flow around them as they perform a lascivious fandango for the members of Soilwork. Or is this just for their own enjoyment? We may never know. The lady in pink holds out a rattlesnake to the camera and it fades to black.
Yep.
That is a thorough description
I
of
liked
this.
it. Didn't know what
The
was
only
going
thing,
on.
the only thing I have to add is that for whatever reason, when they're doing that lascivious dance, it is played in reverse.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, you can,
Interesting.
if you're watching the capes, they flow weirdly.
To make it more
Hmm.
ethereal. I just want
Yeah.
to say they are dancing burlesque. So they are burlesque dancers. Um,
Yeah, keeping up Soilworks just trend of just really respectful use of women in their videos.
we'll get to that in the next video. So with that, let's move on to track number 4, Enemies Infidelity. Um, I am mixed on this one. I don't love the verses. Uh, I do like the line, like the part with the "Still I long for you," my culprit of choice. And they do a lot of slides in this one. They have kind of a slide buried in the mix at 215, and then they do something really cool. They do a dual slide at 307. Like both the guitars do the slide.
Yep.
And that's really cool. But yeah, the verses aren't doing it for me. The chorus is good. And then, sorry if I steal your thunder, Brother Dave, but we get a variation on the fade out for this song. And they're turning it down, like they're playing the music, and like Dirk Verburen is fading out while the music is still going, and it's this fun little thing that's going on.
He's still doing blast beats.
Yeah,
He's just doing them real
it's
quiet and
it goes
almost like
just
acoustic blast beats.
quieter
I've
and
talked about it.
quieter till
I've
he
talked about it
disappears.
before, but I think this song is probably the most that they do it, where like there's nothing going on musically. I think there's like some soft keys or something, but he's just blast beating away. It's so weird.
He can't be contained. Um, can I just say, speaking of blast beats, I have in my notes blast beat mayhem at 221 and 338. So he must have just been taking it up to 11 at those timestamps, I think.
Uh, I think Paul mostly called out what I'm feeling about this song too. It's weird and it feels a little weak compared to some of the other songs.
Hmm.
He did call out the pick scrapes, which I loved. And the only other thing I'd like to point some attention to is that at the solo at 239, they really channel their inner Metallica and just lay on the wah pedal. It's fine.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it, and actually, there's a couple things in this song that stood out to me as being reminiscent of a couple of other bands. So at 52 seconds, Speed is doing something. It's mainly like the way his vocal delivery, but also kind of what the instrumentation is doing behind it, where he's like, "Restless believer," something like that. I think he says "restless believer," but it sounds a lot like the Killswitch Engage song "When Darkness Falls" at 2 minutes and 28 seconds of that song. The instruments kind of drop down to be more of a backup for the screams that are just shouted. I thought it sounds pretty cool. I always like that Killswitch Engage song as well. But when I heard that, I was like, wait a minute, I've heard this before. And sure enough, it sounds very similar. And then, Paul, I think you were kind of calling out this same section, but I had that there's a sick riff and tasty lick.
I can also play some pretty hot licks too. You know, the kind that are just way up high on the tiny strings and you mash your fingers on them. Me, 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 me.
Right around 2 minutes and 12 seconds. They're doing some really fast guitar tapping, I think is what it is.
Through every second, every distant little noise, it makes no difference as well.
And that was very reminiscent of a style that Unearth uses in a few of its songs, but in particular, the intro to their song Failure off the 2004 album, The Oncoming Storm. And Unearth does, I feel like they do that in a few different songs on different albums as well. But That was the most notable one that it sounded very similar to. And I listened to them side by side. I was like, okay, that's like almost the same thing going on. And it's really cool. So, they're kind of pulling in some maybe more metalcore-ish vibes, but I'm here for it. So, you know, loved it.
Well, as we mentioned, this song also has a video. So let's open up our segment Video Killed the Mellow Death Star. Yet again, and this one, it's a fairly straightforward one where there is an attractive woman being an artist, like scrawling sketches on the floor, coupled with like very intense close-ups of Bjorn's face. And he's got some crazy eyes going on. And it's
Wild
all,
eyes in the big
Can we-
city.
Can we back up? I forgot to mention one other thing about the other video that I liked,
Okay,
and
yes.
that was the expressions.
yes,
Bjorn, he's really enunciating those words.
yes.
And then Sylvain, when he starts doing those big chords, he's just like metal facing it.
They're smashing up a storm.
And David during the solo, just insane.
Yeah.
All these faces are great.
Yeah, but yeah, so this one, like, then it's like, there's, I'm not gonna call them very tasteful downshirt shots of this lady who's kneeling while
there's
sketching.
some cleavage.
There's some
But
of those. There's also some gratuitous feet pics.
Yes. So it's just like her sketching, and you're like, what's she sketching? And then there's overlays of like Bjorn singing while walking around a city by the river, and then she's just like sketching out pictures of Bjorn while being attractive, and yeah, feet pics and downshirt shots. So
Well,
And at some point, she's giving Bjorn horns and a goatee.
one other thing I noticed though is I had not realized Speed has a big Soilwork logo tattooed on his chest. And so I'd say after 20 years of being in a band, that's a pretty legit tattoo to get. What do you boys think? If we continue this pod for 20 years, should we get Men Metal Mayhem tattoos on our chests?
we already have matching tattoos.
Yeah, we just have
That's
to really
true.
put
It's
mayhem underneath it and metal.
Yeah, honestly I would. But
if
yeah.
we go for 20 years.
Yep.
Yeah, deal. When we're 60.
I'll be 56.
I'll be 62. It's gonna be perfect.
Yeah, I noticed that big old tattoo also. I was like, oh, all right.
I mean, I wouldn't personally get a logo of something tattooed on me, but I guess, like I said, it's his band.
Yeah, like your own
And-
personal
and he's-
logo. Not really.
He's the only one of the original people remaining. Maybe he got it to say, I'm in this to win this. I'm never leaving.
Yeah.
Can't count me out.
All right, let's move on to track.
Imagine if they pull a Batushka on him and then he's left with this
Peter
huge
Winters comes back,
tattoo.
steals the band.
Winters!
Okay.
That rascal.
Oh, well, now let's move on to track number 5, Petrichor by Sulfur. Brother John.
Oh, man. Well, I like this one. And man, at 51 seconds, the vocals, where he says the things we destroy, and he just really sustains the oi in destroy. That was pretty rad. Just another example of Strid showing a little flair in his delivery. But yeah, I don't know. There's some pretty catchy parts in this. I think it's the bridge maybe starting at 52 seconds where he's like, I need that umbilical silence. And then also the chorus shortly thereafter where, it's like, now the light is bleeding into my head. She's alive and needing me somewhere else. I don't know. That whole musical section is pretty catchy and sticks with me. There's also at 2 minutes 48 seconds, there's kind of a cool southern feel, a bit reminiscent of those bonus tracks Overclocked, or the bonus track Overclocked from Sworn to a Great Divide, where it's got kind of like bluesy stuff going on. And I dig it, you know? They're playing the Petrichor by Sulphur Blues.
Brother Dave.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, I agree with Brother John. This song really great, and in that bluesy part he called out, they do an interesting thing with the guitar tone. It makes it sound like really tubular, like it's echoing through a big tube or something. It's a cool, interesting sound that they use. I really like it. There's a lot of really singable parts, and
speaking of singable parts, at 4 minutes 45 seconds, so this is kind of a long one, but the lyrics are no turning back because tonight we ride. So again, the themes of riding are present
yep,
and they
our
are
boys are
getting after
back.
us. Yeah, yeah, baby. So I was
Uh,
like to shout that part along too. So I interrupted
yeah,
you.
that's okay. It was very important. Um, I really like the solo here. Also, it's got some nice sweeps, and then it goes into kind of a simple part where it's just single repeated note over nothing, but it really works. I think their composition on this whole album is really on display as just being top notch. Um, and while at this very moment, I don't remember what the cymbals were doing at 25 seconds into this song, but I have written fun, quiet cymbals. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, overall, this song absolutely slaps. Oh, and the intro's one of those weird things where they're switching between uh 8/8 and 12/8, like basically playing the same guitar riff but switching up the timing of the drums underneath. And it's the thing that turned me off on one of the songs on the previous album because it is kind of jarring, but because they do it at the beginning, you can get over it. You're not constantly doing this switching thing, so I think it works a little better. Uh, but I like it.
Yeah.
Brother Paul, tell us why we're
So,
wrong.
well, no, it's so
Uh,
this is the song. I was listening to it today at work. I was listening to this album and I zoned out while working, and then I kind of like zoned back in and I was like, wait a minute, is Death in General still playing right now?
You listened all
or
the way through Enemies Infidelity.
Yeah, I totally skipped over that. I was like, is this wait, I don't remember it being this long. I know it meanders, but so
you were zoned out for a while.
yeah. Um this one has such a catchy chorus, but I don't like the pre-chorus and the line I need that umbilical silence I think is so fucking dumb.
Oh, well, nobody knows what it means, but I
Right.
think it's cool.
I don't
That's the
like
difference between us. If we don't understand things, I like it, you hate it.
oh, I understand it. I just don't like it. I think it sounds dumb.
Well, I don't understand it, and I do like it.
But
Yeah,
also, if you understood it, you would still like it.
I would still.
yeah.
And can I just also call out that they do one of those huge soil work stops at 4 minutes 23 seconds. They come out of the guitar solo with a hard stop, but there's also an echo effect that kind of rings out that final guitar note. Or I don't know if he's just hitting the note again a couple times, and then it goes back into the chorus. And there's a nice little flair to add to the signature Soilwork stop before going back into the catchy chorus.
Yeah. So I like this one, but there are parts of it that I do not like. So with that, let's move on to track number 6, The Phantom. And guest vocalists are back, baby. This one features a guest vocalist named Pascal Paulson, and he is just a guy. He's Speed's buddy from before he started the band. Um,
Oh.
and Speed brought him on. He was like, I thought it was a great way to kind of tie what I am doing now in my life to who I used to be and where I came from. And he'd been in a couple of just kind of localish bands, I guess. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. But yeah.
Yeah, I listened to this one knowing that there was a guest vocalist, and I couldn't pick out where it was.
Yeah. So
But
doesn't.
I mean, they've kind of done that with guest vocalists before,
Yeah, they
right?
really get
Michael
buried in
Lagerfeld
there.
and Devin Townsend both kind of just in there.
Yeah, which yeah, I like it if you're having a guest vocalist, make them do something a little more. But I think it maybe works for this one because it's like it's just a guy. For this one, I'll just go first. They got a real big guitar slide at 106. And other than that, this is just an average album track to me. Brother Dave.
Nah.
You didn't like the black metal vibes that the whole thing is giving off? What's wrong with you?
It's
What is wrong with your taste, Brother Paul?
it's fine. It's just an average album track. I don't
It's too
dislike
well
it.
produced to be black metal.
That's
You know.
true. Yeah, and it doesn't have shrieks. It actually has good singing over it. What's
Well,
going on
it
here?
has that long scream, but it's not enough of a shriek. That's the
Right.
thing.
So, um, in fact, I do think that this is one of the weaker songs on this album, but I think that this is overall just a really solid album, start to finish. Um, and musically, it is like really black metal feeling. Notes wise, they do the tremolo picking, like just the really fast hitting individual notes, moving around, um, and the rat tat tat behind it. And then they do some black metal arpeggios around 50 seconds in, and then after that it follows like more black metal with blast beats. I feel like they were just kind of exploring some stuff here. Um, they still get their classic kind of soil work drop down to a quiet part, and then the solo with some nice sweep picking in it, just really classic metal stuff. It's solid, but uh, it is not nearly as standout as some of the other tracks on this album. I just like giving Brother Paul a hard time.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the chorus was pretty catchy. It kind of stood out to me, where he's like, I dream of dominions I once used to roam in need.
Yeah, that part is it is a
Pretty
lot of fun.
sweet, and it's kind
Yeah.
of like minor key, and I don't know, just
Mhm.
like the
And it
flow
does
of it
it's got a
caught
different
me.
cadence than the a lot of their other choruses
Yeah,
do.
and then he's like, "But in the Phantom, I believe." And I was wondering, is he referring to the superhero, the Phantom, played by Billy Zane in the 1996 classic, The Phantom?
It's
Is that who he
possible.
believes in? I'm not sure.
Do you want to know the answer for real?
Yeah.
Well, in order to find out, let's open up our segment Lyrical Tactics and Vocal Gymnastics.
Lyrical tactic, vocal gymnastics.
Brother John.
So to me, this song, if you read the lyrics, it reads like a riddle. It starts out, I live to awake you, you son of time. As soon as I see you, you draw the lines. Through the chambers of delusions, your nurturing shadow, you give me closure and shelter and fire. A keeper of our needs, to wallow in secrets, you hold no dignities and redeem the speechless. What am I?
What is in my pocket?
I know it's almost like Speed Strid is there with Bilbo and Gollum in the cave engaging in the riddle battle,
Yeah.
but he's the master riddler, and I think he would have won that riddle battle. Any clues what the answer to this riddle could be?
I mean,
Spoiler alert. Oh, go ahead, Dave. You have
I
a guess?
I had a guess. I mean, I looked at the verses and I was kind of lost, but I felt like just that I Dream of Dominions part, the chorus, um, kind of feels like it could be about religion. And that the phantom is the false truth that religion gives. Right? Like I dream of dominions I once used to roam in need. Like you're dreaming of having power. Um, Now ruptured and sunken. You don't have power now. So you're dreaming of, being in a position of authority or power. The surface still bleeds, but I'll just pretend that I have seen a world beyond. I'm doing very badly right now, but I'll pretend I know that there's something good coming in the future. Um, the night is still cold, and I'm still deceived. Uh, things are crappy, but I still believe in something. But in the phantom, I believe. The thing I believe in is not real. That's the
Hmm.
most I could make of it. But we
Well,
know how
nice,
good I am at lyrics.
nice try, Dave. The actual answer to the riddle is just the Phantom.
Well,
That's the answer.
Billy Zane.
Yeah, it's Billy Zane.
Billy Zane is the answer to all of our questions.
Put a cork in it, Zane.
Well, do you boys want to know the actual answer?
Yes, we do.
I would
Okay,
love
so,
to.
quote, the lyrics are about insomnia and how you almost need to mentally enter a different person to be able to sleep, colon, the phantom, end quote. So there you have it. It's neither
It,
Billy Zane nor religion.
Huh.
but it is
So
the
the
Phantom.
he
Yes.
dreams of dominions he once used to roam in need. Uh, just falling asleep, I
Do you
guess, is
think
the
that
Dominions,
dominion.
they maybe
dominions over the
just
sleepful world.
they were just listening to the In Flames song Lord Hypnos and it's like,
Could
wait a
be.
minute.
I mean, these are very, very poetic lyrics. Even knowing that, I'd have to go back and see if I can actually place the lyrics to what the heck they mean.
Yeah. Well, let us move on to track number 7, The Ride Majestic, parentheses, Inspire Angelic, end parentheses. Brother Dave.
I think it's a funny move to have two songs name the same thing, just one with parentheses on it.
Yep.
But I love this song. I absolutely love it. And I mean, this song fucks, perhaps even. It's built around a 7/4 riff, which is a lot of fun, and they make it work. Um, Lots of tense chords. And I think that might be one of the things they do on this album more so than they've done on previous albums is that they have a ton of leading chords. Like they'll end phrases with a really, if you know anything about music theory, there's like tension in some chords where they feel incomplete. Uh, and then there are other ones that feel complete, like the chord that the song is based around. That one's going to feel complete. But like adding notes onto certain chords adds a lot of tension, and then it feels really good when you hit the next chord and you get that release. They do a ton of that in this song, and I love it. Um, they've got cool vocal harmonies in the pre-chorus when he's kind of screaming, singing "Whether it's you, whether it's me." Uh, I I love what he's doing. He's kind of getting into the semi-ridiculous side of it, where he really shines. What else? Oh, he hits that big high note, right? When he mixes,
Mm-hmm.
he changes up the chorus, and then he'll just like throw one of the notes up an octave. Love it when he does that. And then the solo, very cool solo. The solo is happening and it's happening, but the drums under the solo are in a tresillo pattern, which I hark on all the time. It's a 3+3+2 pattern. And it really gives it this cool driving feel. That's at 2 minutes and 53 seconds. Um, and yeah, the drums just really take the song to another level. The vocals are soaring and they end on that big majestic. And it's so good. There's so much good here.
So I'm gonna hop in and say, yeah, damn, what a great song. At the chorus especially. Um, and the bridge into the solos, the when he goes like the rain whips me conscience, the way he sings it, you kind of touched on it. It reminded me of Evergrey when he was doing that, which is kind of that power metal-ish
Hmm.
type of sound that he does. Yeah, this song fucks. This is a really good one. Um, Brother John.
Yeah, I mean, you guys pretty much said it all. I do want to call out there's a really rad drum fill at a minute 55. But as I was listening to it, I was like, oh man, that's really cool. But then I was like, there's so much other insane stuff he's doing on the drums, like throughout the whole song. It honestly might not even seem that cool, but it caught my attention. So, like throughout, there's just a lot of fun, awesome drumming on this one.
Hmm.
And then at 3 minutes 33 seconds, there's kind of a different distortion on the guitar. It seemed like that they were using. I think it was the guitar, and they haven't used much before. But whatever they were doing, it worked really well with the bluesy kind of riff that they were playing.
Now it's coming on that's left. Where's the path I once repressed? She is closer now than death. Where's fire and death?
At that part. So those are just a couple of little parts that I thought were extra fun.
All right. Well, let's move on to track number 8, Whirl of Pain. Brother John.
Well, this is how you put together a mid-tempo jam that stays with the listener. I thought it was very catchy, also very moody.
Hmm.
There's a slow build with some chugs and drum hits for the intro. It's mid-tempo, but they got to throw at least one on an album to mix it up. And this one has some pretty good grooves to it. Um, the part at 218 where it's like as the world breaks down, that part's pretty rad. It gets the slow headbang going. Just like, kind of picture myself seeing this live, just, horns in the air, banging my head slow.
Start dragging me around.
Just jamming out. And then again, there's a lot of kind of bluesy stuff on this album in different parts. At 2 minutes 55, there's some real stanky bluesy guitars riffs. And it's almost like blue cheese. It's so stanky. Maybe like Limburger, probably. I guess that's even stankier. So, I mean, I liked that. The world of pain are coming blues. Dave, what did you think of this one?
Uh, I also really like this one. We see a return of our good friend, the Ebo, which is kind of hanging around on a lot of these songs in the
Yeah, I was gonna
background.
say I noticed it on a couple earlier ones. I don't think I mentioned it, but yeah, it's there. It's fun. I like that.
Yeah. And it's this compositionally is a weird song. It's almost like a linear composition. They've got three sort of verse parts, but they're all different. And they all happen before you get to the chorus. It's a very strange way to write a song, but they make it work. There's not nearly as much repetition here as you get in a lot of songs. Um, and yeah, the chorus is just big and singable once they do get to it. And it's at like 2 minutes that they, like 2:15 or something, that they finally get to the chorus. Um, and I have written at 2:14, all the music cuts out and it's just Speed screaming, which is awesome. Uh, Overall, interesting song, really good. And yeah, great way to do a mid-tempo breather song.
So, do you think when Peter Witchers left the band that they forced him to give them the Ebo that he stole from Opeth back in 2001?
Probably.
Almost certainly.
It's sorry,
There's
that's
only
band
one.
property now.
Yep. Yep. It's got to be.
This one, it is a good song. It just doesn't grab me. Like it's fine, and that's we'll get to this at the end. That's all of the songs on this album are good. Some of them are just
Gooder.
yeah, gooder. Yeah, or just like yeah, this one it doesn't I don't love it. It's not what I'm going to come back to, but it's not bad. So,
This
um
song, to add to that point, not even contradict you, this song is, I think, the start of the second half slowdown that you
yeah.
get in almost every album.
Yeah. I got really nothing. It doesn't. I listen to it and it's fine, but nothing jumps out at me. So let us move on to track number 9, All Along Echoing Paths. Brother Dave.
Well, this song, first of all, calls out a Haunted album, Strength in Numbers. Uh, I think we've been doing those call outs.
Yes, we have.
Um, opens with some tremolo, black metal-ish tremolo picking again. I mean, I'm not gonna walk through part by part here. I think compositionally, again, this one's weird because the verses have two parts. There's like a sung part and a scream part, kind of, or like two very distinct parts of each verse. And then the chorus also has two distinct halves to it. And there's a pre-chorus. So by the time we've gotten through verse one and the pre-chorus and the chorus, we've had five distinct different sung parts, which makes it hard to find one thing to glom onto in this song and makes it feel compositionally a little awkward, I think. Um, but all of the individual parts are really good. That said, it's one of the weaker songs on the album, I think, while still being good. I don't think there's a single bad song on this album. Brother
Right.
Paul, you
Yeah,
agreeing with that?
yes, I do agree with that. Yeah, it's interesting. I think, as I recall, this one really grooves. It's a really groovy song.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it just ends. It is just a weird hard stop on this one. But it's good. Like I like this one. More than the last song, but it's like, okay, we're the ending, it's getting a bit shaky. It's not bad, but I'm like, where's all that power from earlier? So Brother John, what are your
Oh,
thoughts?
well, offhand, I don't really remember how this song sounds, but in my notes, I kind of had the opposite that like the beginning part, the first couple of verses and choruses, I wasn't a huge fan. I felt like that instrumentation seemed somewhat uninspired, not specifically bad, but just maybe lacking zazz. But if you get through that, starting at like 2 minutes 52 seconds, it picks up and starts to get good. And then at 3:25, there's a cool instrumental part with some bluesy bends, and then there's a cool solo. So, like, sort of the second half of the song kind of redeems what otherwise I thought would have been sort of a lackluster number. So, I don't know, good and bad, but also I don't recall how this one goes.
Okay, well, that takes us into track number 10, Shining Lights. And all week since listening to this, it has haunted me that it sounds like another song. And I finally hit on it just before coming on the podcast. It is reminiscent of Corey Hart's song Sunglasses at Night, specifically the chorus, which is Sunglasses at Night is like a real 80s bop. If you hear it, you'll know it. I'm gonna drop it in, so we'll play the parts I'm thinking of side by side. Like the intro to this song sounds similar enough to the chorus of Sunglasses at Night.
Don't switch the blade on a guy and shades of gold. Don't masquerade with the guy and shades of gold.
And then I find out that so Kudre wrote this song and Speed is like, yeah, this was very like inspired by The Cure. Like if The Cure were to be a metal band, that's what this song is supposed to sound like. So kind of the same time frame that I was thinking of. It's got kind of this 80s feel to it. Um And I'm sure, I'll drop in the part that I'm thinking of this song versus the Corey Hart song, and people can tell me I'm crazy, but there's something there. Um, Other than that, I like this one, but at the 250 mark, there is a solo that is reaching almost Matthias Eklund levels of wankery. It is just, oh boy, it's not quite that bad. So they toned down whatever sex toy they're using, which also property of the band at that point. But
The
yeah,
Eklund dildo.
yep. So, Brother John, what were your thoughts on this?
Well, I thought it had a cool intro riff, and now I'm interested to hear the comparison to the Sunglasses at Night song, which I know that song a little bit. Haven't heard it in forever. But yeah, I don't know. The verse starting at 28 seconds has like a really riffy guitar, just kind of like fast riffing, but not really doing anything super interesting, it seemed like. It's just fast chugging. So it's a little bit to me like when you guys talk about how you hate the rat-a-tat drums. I don't want too much of that, but in moderation, it's fine. I'm not gonna be all upset that they're just doing sort of a straight fast riff. Um, but then at 238, the guitar riff is pretty rad when they're coming back out of the solo. It's quick riffing again, but it's kind of moving up and down the frets, and that's giving it a little more zazz. So, they totally redeem themselves. And at 3 minutes 14, they cut the beat to halftime, which was a fun way to kind of emphasize that riff, and I liked that. So it's got some fun stuff going on in it for sure.
Yeah, I did like their use of, I noted their use of halftime kind of throughout this song, used really effectively. And then at 54 seconds, they also add half a bar, so they add two extra notes. Um, but if you're playing every two notes on your snare, which is a pretty common pattern, that still grooves really well. You don't fall onto like an offbeat or something. Um, and then Strid has his moments of screaming nowhere at about the 2 minute mark. Just a big vocal build into this big scream. You know, it's hard to call out all of his good vocal moments because there's so many of them. He's just at this point in his career just an incredible vocalist and does so many cool
Yeah,
things all the time. Um, but overall, this is not as good as some of the other songs on the album.
yeah.
It's it's functional, gets the job done. I think the solo at 225, maybe before they get into using the dildo, is actually pretty good. It just kind of
Yes.
classic metal. I think it's a Kudre solo, and that guy knows how to just bang out a ripper.
Yeah.
Uh, Decent song, not the best.
Yes. So that brings us to the last standard track, number 11, Father and Son Watching the World Go Down. And guest vocalists are back. This time we have Nathan James Biggs of the band Sonic Syndicate on this one.
Zizzy Zazz Bullets.
Basically. And Sonic Syndicate they're like an metalcore slash alt metal band from England and Sweden. I think Nathan James Biggs is actually English, but it's primarily a Swedish band. Speed had been on their 2014 album, which I listened to, and he's the highlight of that album. The rest of it did not really catch my attention, but I listened to it all. Um, and let me just say, God damn, I love this song. This song is
Hell yeah.
so fucking good.
Mhm.
And I figured out, I found a quote where he talks about what the lyrics are based off of. Quote, the lyrics are based on a nightmare I had some months ago. I dreamt that me and my dad was standing in the living room, realizing the end of the world and the rumble that came with it. Not like an earthquake, it was different. Seeing the fear in each other's eyes was horrifying. We held on to each other while everything around us just collapsed. The dream was so real. that I almost know what it would feel like if the world ended. And goddamn, that makes me love this song even more. This is a flawless. It's been in my head all week. I have nothing bad to say about this song. This song fucks. What a way to
Hmm.
end an album.
They finally did it. They finally ended an album correctly.
Yes.
Like I think I've had gripes about every album closer that they've had, but this one 100% nails it. Um, and a big part of that is what I mentioned earlier, where they have those big leading notes. And I think one of the best examples of that is at like the minute 9 second, they just have this note. You know it has to go somewhere, but they hold it, they bend it a little bit, and then it goes into the chorus, and
Hmm.
that makes the chorus hit so good. Yeah, we got our Ebo behind everything. Vocals are on point. The solo is soaring and majestic,
Hmm.
triumphant, um, and like just all that big layered singing from Strid. It's all so good.
Would you say there are layers of vocal lies going on?
I think I might say that. Father and son watching the lies go down.
Oh,
Oh, oh man, can I call out our segment Father and Son bringing the mosh? Because there is a mega breakdown at 3 minutes 42 seconds where he says, "Go down," and then they make it go all the way down with the deep low
Hmm.
chugs and some slow drums, and that part hits.
Yeah. And screaming, riding the wave of nothingness.
Exactly.
what?
And then, speaking of riding, this song, there's nowhere left to ride. It's about the end of the world.
It's
This is
so,
truly what Soilwork has been about the entire time.
it's amazing. I, so like I said, I hadn't listened to this album prior, and listening to this song, I was like, oh, this is now in my top five. Like, this is great.
Yeah,
Uh,
this one's way up
Hmm.
there.
yeah.
Oh man, if I was to truly pick a top five, that would be very difficult because
I
there's
think we might have to try to
so
do it
many.
for
Oh,
our wrap up.
yeah, you're probably right. Okay,
Start
that's gonna be
thinking.
tough. Perfect tight five.
Yeah. Well, there are a couple of bonus tracks, so let's just kind of quickly hit those. Track number 12, I will just call it Of Hollow Dreams. Brother John.
All right, so well, it's a real up-tempo sort of rat-a-tat-tat one at the outset, and I don't know, it's not bad. At 1 minute 7 seconds, it had some sweet syncopated sounding guitar riff, and then it has the line, uh, "Sorrow cannot seem to let me go," before it gets into the chorus, and that whole part has been stuck in my head for days, but like in a good way. So, this one I thought was pretty groovy. I liked it. And it had a cool guitar solo later on at 3 minutes 15. So, it's got some good elements to it. Not bad for a bonus track.
Yeah, I think this one stands, it maybe is even better than a couple of the weaker songs on the album itself.
Oh,
The
yeah,
sorrow
agreed.
will not, cannot seem to let me go part, super catchy. The
Hmm.
chorus, great melody there. I don't remember exactly what the words are, but um, yeah, a lot of good stuff going on here. I think this song slaps.
Yeah. This one I think it fits on the album, definitely. It feels fully realized, it fits tonally, which, some of their other bonus tracks are finished and sound good, but wouldn't have fit on the album. They're bonus tracks too. One quick thing that I just late breaking news coming in: the lyrics for this song were written by a little man called Miguel Olmberg.
I saw that on the Wikipedia.
Yeah,
And
Is
is
that
this
Carlos's brother?
he's gotta be, right? Or perhaps his
Probably.
father.
mhm.
Oh, a father and son writing
What?
lyrics for a band.
Um, all right, so let's move on to the next bonus track, Ghosts and Thunder. Brother Dave.
Uh, Starts out with a quiet intro and some Bjorn Speedstrid goofiness with the bleeding heart. Uh, and we've got some cool time signature stuff in the verse. They're doing an 8+7 +8+9, so it kind of does that oscillating thing where they've got the short bit, but they make up for it with a long bit later. Um, Chorus does some halftime stuff. I mean, overall, this song, it's decent. It's decent. But it's not as standout as some of the other ones that I really liked.
I
Well,
literally
one
have
thing
just
that's
written,
oh,
it's
go
a
ahead.
decent song. Brother John.
Well, one thing that stood out to me on this one is the part where he says, "Where do we go now? I thought you knew I just planted a seed." I think is how the melody to that goes. And
Where do we go now? I saw you knew I just planted a seed. A picture of someone I used to know.
so again, they're talking about seed, and it just begs the question: in his off time, is Strid a farmer? I mean, it's unclear what he's doing when he's not singing in one of his many, many bands, but I think he's got to be involved in some kind of farming. There's just too many seed
Farming is
references.
very likely.
Yeah,
He's outed
Probably.
himself.
yeah, I think that's got to be what it is, right? And yeah, I don't know. There's some other fun syncopated drum beats, followed by the chorus around the 3:33 mark. And yeah, I don't know. I thought, oh, here's one thing. So the chorus is good, but like the first time they go through it, they only do it once, and it's really short. And I was like, I want to hear more of this. What's going on? But then the second
I
time
actually-
they come back,
I wrote the
and they
same
do
thing.
it a couple of times, and then they like end up doing it a couple more times, I think. So they give you your fill of the chorus towards the end of the song, and so you leave satisfied. But at first, it's like, oh, come on, guys, what the heck? You were just getting started.
On to the final bonus track. The end begins below the surface. And this one is notable because it was written by Dirk Verbeuren. And I have written, the vocals are subpar and it just doesn't really work. Brother John.
Yeah, well, and this one, at least on Spotify, they relegate this to just being on the Death Resonance album. It's not included on the Ride Majestic as bonus tracks, which the other two are. So I didn't even know about this until I don't know where I saw it, like on Wikipedia. I was like, oh, another bonus track? What the heck? Yeah, not a big fan of this one. And I thought it kind of harkened back to the lyrical style of the early albums, where it's just like kind of a bunch of words crammed in haphazard meter, you might say.
Word salad is back, baby. It's
yeah.
what's on the menu.
What is the way? Trust me, swallowed by chaos, hollow and defenseless. All that we hope for must come to an end.
And just in general, it didn't really feel or sound like a Soilwork song, but I wonder maybe this was just Dirk's way of saying, peace out, I'm going to Megadeth now. I leave you with this parting gift.
Spoiler for the next album.
Oh, well, this is the last one he's on, right?
Yes, it
Or,
is.
oh, we don't drop the big reveal until they're already gone. Spoiler
Oh,
alert,
this is why you're
everybody.
not in charge.
Well, you can try to edit that out, but it's never going to work because the people need to know. But yeah, he's leaving, but he leaves a parting gift, and it's like, did we need it? Not really. It's like
This
a
is
gift
why they
that
kick him out.
this is a gift that belongs in a garbage can.
Go
So
hang out with Dave Mustaine. Brother Dave, bring us home.
I've written this song was very obviously written by a drummer.
Fair.
You
'Cause
guys
it's
mentioned
terrible?
no, actually, you guys mentioned that the vocals lyrics don't really work. I totally agree with that. Um, it's it's a show off song of somebody who can do time signatures very well. Uh, it's there's parts in 6/8 that have like 9/8 thrown in. There's a lot of it in like 5/4. I would say largely the song is in 5/4, and maybe what that's one reason it sits kind of poorly with the average listener. And then it does like a halftime thing into what sort of feels like 10/4, but halftime on 5/4 is weird because you get an offbeat. It's there's weird rhythmic stuff going on here. Um, and so I'd call it a bop for novelty factor, but I'm not sure how long that would keep me coming back. It's definitely, yeah, I'm glad it wasn't on the album. It would have been just so jarring.
This was
Yeah,
just
I think
his showcase to get into Megadeth.
Yep.
could be.
Wow.
Although he has only recorded one album with Megadeth in 2022, and I listened
I
to
mean,
most of that, and it was pretty good.
but recording one album with Megadeth is kind of par for the course with that band.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I'm not super
You
familiar with them
go
actually.
go on Wikipedia and look at the list of prior members in Megadeth. It's like they record one album and then they're like, "Oh, this Dave Mustaine guy, I hate him," and then they leave.
Or is it a real Spinal Tap scenario? They're all just dying.
Oh boy. Well, we may never know because we will never do them on this podcast. And with that, let's kick it over to our resident ranking expert, Brother John.
Well, the time has come for our final segment, which is Bop or Flop, where we decide, does the album slap or is it crap? We have honed a patented 6-tier ranking system going from 6 all the way down to number 1. We have the Bops, a perfect 6, unassailable. This is Metal Incarnate. A 5, like to stand on that thing, an album we could easily listen to on repeat. And a 4, or that's doable, a very solid album worth listening to. And there's the flops. A 3, it lacks zazz. Nothing special, somewhat forgettable. A 2 is called that because it's a number 2. It's straight crap. And a 1 belongs in a garbage can. This album is a disappointment to its father and the listener. Well, who wants to kick us off with your final thoughts?
I think Brother Dave.
I would love to kick us off. The first time Brother John doesn't kick us off. In fact, this album, I think it's a certified banger. Um, there's so many good tracks. The only like it's still got that second half slowdown, which is kind of 3 weak-ish tracks in a row. But I mean, so many amazing songs here. The Ride Majestic, A Light in the Aftermath, Death in General, Petrichor, The Ride Majestic, Part 2, Aspire Angelic, Father and Son Watching the World Go Down. Just so many bangers on this album. I gotta give it a perfect 6. That's all I got. I mean, it's great. I'd
Brother
love to hear
John.
how you guys.
Let me go next, and we'll see what Paul does at the end. To me, this, I mean, if you couldn't tell from all the praise that I heaped on it, it is a bop of an album. It's still melodic and catchy, but leans a bit thrashier in parts, like just what they're doing with a lot more really fast songs, I thought. A lot of cool guitar work throughout, vocals on point, drums laying down a furious assault, as always. Just another extremely solid installment from our boys in Soilwork. I love it, and oftentimes this is really a go-to if I know I need a little soil work in my life. So in the hierarchy of Soilwork's releases, for me, this one is way up near the top. Not their greatest of all time, but it's way up there. Full of goodness, really nothing on it that I dislike, other than maybe that final bonus track, which, is that on the album? Maybe not. So I'd say right around figure number 5 or Predator's Portrait territory for me, and I will similarly rank it a 6.
Oh boy.
Paul's like, it lacks zazz.
Oh.
This belongs in a garbage can.
Yeah. Because one of the songs I didn't really like, No, this one was very hard for me to rate. I waffled. It is, it's a good, listenable album. God, I feel bad doing. I'm torn. Call me Natalie Imbruglia because I
Well,
am
Torn
torn.
to a great divide.
I am.
Well,
So I'm just gonna go with what I have written. It's a good album. I want to give it a 5, but I have to give
What?
it a 4.5.
what? Oh,
What?
fair.
There
Whatever.
are
What are we
a
gonna
couple,
do?
there's a couple really great tracks on here, and there's some big, catchy choruses. But for me, I think that some of the musicality is missing. And I had a similar critique with the Panic broadcast in that it's missing moments that stand out to me, especially like usually they do like these bridges that will just be stuck in my head, like into the chorus. And I think some of that's missing. They nail a bunch of the choruses. It's a good album. It's consistent. Yes, there is some slowdown. Um, but I think there's just something slightly missing that kicks it up to the next level. I think it's catchier and easier to listen to than the Panic broadcast, which I rated a 4. I'm going to go with 4.5, and I will catch shit from both of you for it. And I will be in turmoil myself about it. And
Oh,
always, this one's gonna haunt me.
I'm surprised that little bleep bloppy part at the end of Death in General didn't boost it at least a half point for you. Should be at least a 5, but
Feel like
yeah.
I should probably give this a 4.75, but we're not doing that kind of rating.
You can get as specific as you want. I'm not going to stop you.
That is true. Well, soil mates, that's all for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode where we will discuss Soilwork's voracious 2019 album, Verkligheten. Until then, stay metal, my brothers.
Hell yeah,
Oh
brother.
yeah, brother.